YouTube, anticss here with the swole on the fro on, and if you need the explainer, I am the Alpha Tamer, and today I am going to be telling you guys how I feel about the new Alphamon support. Domino, hit my music. Alright, let's start talking about it. So this is what I did. I have card.dev up, and I went and grabbed a deck list from... So Bandai released like a video of a group of people. Usually they do this like kind of promotional content thing. And there was an individual who was piloting the new Alphamon Stuff, who was playing against someone who was piloting the Zavagamon deck with the new Zavagamon Ace. And they shared the deck list on that video. So what I decided to do is I pulled the deck list, I put it into dev. I did make one change to the list because I got to like play around with it a little bit. I tested it and I'm like, this deck really needs X card. Let's talk about it. I'm gonna just pull up the list so we can look at it and discuss it together. So this is what we're looking at. They played, instead of these 3X ante options, they played training. Here was my problem with training versus X ante. We're gonna get into this a little bit. What this deck is getting most of its advantage off of is evoing while attacking, so that you want to digivolve while you're attacking. I keep pulling up the Grademon because it might be, besides Ouryumon Ace, it might be my favorite card in the deck. But the Grademon gets an effect when you digivolve into it while attacking. The ouryumon, same thing. The Alphamon, same thing. The Ouryumon, same thing. So in my mind, in a deck where you're using effects to evolve while attacking, training isn't going to come up as often, as well as you're going to need more than just the Tamer card to do it. So with that being said, let's just talk about the cards. Let's just talk about the new stuff. Dorumon is just an on-play reveal. It's your typical searcher. It's going to be adding an X antibody trait and a Tamer or option with the Chronicle trait. Right now, the only Tamer and option we have with Chronicle trait is the new Dual Tamer, which is this, the Coda Yuji, 5-cost memory Tamer, and this option card, which is another searcher, which we'll get to this here in a bit. You're going to be using this a lot up front, I think, to like add these cards, because these cards are so, or not this one as much, but this card is so pivotal to your strategy. But they also played this card in their list. This card is just good because it's just a generic searcher for literally for every card in this deck. It searches for every single card in this deck, but this option, oh no, this has X antibody in its traits. Oh, sick. So it searches for literally every card in the deck, but this Yuji. So this card, even though you may not be gaining the memory off of the tucking as often in this deck as you would in like traditional Alphamon, you're going to be searching and you're going to hit every time. Statistically, you'll hit every single time on the search. It's like a 99% chance, unless you reveal 3 of this, which like the odds of that happening are so insanely low, right? So card is just very good for searching. You're going to be playing this a lot at the front as well. This ryudamon, let's move on to this. This is probably, in my opinion, the best card to digivolve in the back, because this lets you do your plays for a little cheaper. This lets you kind of like go into like your strategies sooner than you would if you had any of the other rookies in the back. For those of you who don't know, its effect is your turn when this Digimon would digivolve into Genryu or a Digimon with Chronicle in its trait, which the only 4s this list that they provided us, the only 4s we're playing are Chronicle trait Digimon. So it's going to always digivolve into both of these for 1, unless your opponent has a floodgate on the other side that says otherwise. So that's the purpose of this card. This card is very, very good for the strategy. You want to digivolve it in the back. It's going to go over the Dorumon for 0 because Dorumon has X antibody in its traits. Again, this is the list they provided. This isn't the list I created or have been messing with, which is another thing we might discuss later. All right, so let's talk about the 4s. This is just your standard 4 that says, well, what's the new standard? If you have 1 or fewer Tamers, you may play 1 Coda from your hand. So you can't cheat out this Yuji, but you can cheat out the new Tamer, which is a good effect to have considering this Tamer is a 5-cost. A good strategy is promoting this, digivolving this for 1, playing this 5-cost Tamer for free, swinging with this, using this 5-cost Tamer to digivolve into your 5 to put another thing in the back, and the cycle begins. So it's pretty good, solid. It plays a tamer. Opponent's turn inheritable plus 2k. The lower end Dorumon line has the inheritable opponent's turn plus 2. The Ryuda lower end line has your turn plus 2. So you end up trying to mix these up to have like 2k buffs on your turn versus your opponent's turn, to make your stuff a little bit harder to interact with. It gets pretty nice. So this guy, another good card, especially if you already have this established. That way you don't have to go into this one. This one just, when attacking, it just lets you evo straight into one of these, which is really good. So it's a similar effect to this. This is just a your turn reduced by 1. This is a when attacking, just evo. It makes it to where you don't need this card or even this card, right? So the card ends up being pretty good, just to, again, facilitate the plays you're trying to go for in a deck. The Grademon. Oh my gosh, this is my favorite card in the deck besides Ouryumon Ace. This card is so good. On play when digivolving, you're almost never going to play it. But on play when digivolving, you can play a Dorumon or a ryudamon from your hand to an empty breeding area. Empty is important. The reason empty is important is because sometimes you'll be forced to do weird things at the front, like hard slam a 4. And like if you just hatch and you, let's say you hard slam the 4 and it's on your next turn and you decided to hatch, if you are able to swing with this 4 you hard slammed and go into this, you're not going to get that play into the back. Now, with that being said, if you have Dorumon, you can just evo it in the back anyways. Then, if during an attack until the end of your opponent's turn, one of your Digimon isn't affected by your opponent's Digimon effects and gets plus 5k. The reason this card is so good is because you don't have to give the immunity, the pseudo immunity, to him, to it, them, whatever. You can give it to any of your Digimon on the board. So it's really good because sometimes you'll end up already going into a bigger stack and then you'll establish a second stack, but you want your bigger stack to have some kind of immunity. So you'll end up using this just as a way to give protection to this. It's almost like if you think about the Yellow Vaccine Magna X deck, sometimes you just play the Memory Tamer to take a card out of to remove a card from your security just to proc the immunity. Think about it kind of like that. You're using the Grademon to kind of give something else immunity. A lot of times you will give it to itself, but that's just a nice perk of it. And then opponent's turn, inheritable, just lets you redirect targets to this Digimon once per turn. So not bad. Good defense there. Hisaru, my least favorite 5, but not a bad 5. It does the same thing as Grademon. The difference is it doesn't give immunity. It still gives the 5k and it gives you sec plus 1. And then the your turn inheritable is really strong. Your turn, this Digimon doesn't activate security effects on option cards. So you end up doing some shenanigans where you're able to tuck it with the UG, right? You know, you're going for like multiple checks. Sometimes, like if you already have one, maybe you're going for 2 checks and you're not checking any security, or you're just going for 1 check because you went into this one, but you're suspending UG to tuck it under. So it's a strong card. Grademon's just my favorite. Let's go to Alphamon. The reason they call me the Alpha Tamer, right? Alphamon's generically decent. On play when digivolving recovery plus 1, and it has barrier. So the reason I really like this is because if you're going over this, you're gonna get an immune blocker that also can't be deleted by battle. You're gonna recover, and that gives you the barrier, source that you need. So going into this card is really good. If you're going into it while you're attacking, you can digivolve one of your Digimon in a breeding area into a level 6 or lower Chronicle from hand or trash without paying the cost. So it combos with this because if you're doing this to play a Dorumon in the back and then you're going further into this, then you're going to just evo one of your 4s over the Dorumon or ryudamon in the back for no cost. If your opponent somehow answers the stack that you put out, the stack that has the immunity from your Grademon, the stack that can barrier block, essentially, you just have another level 4 coming out, and then you could tuck X-Ante and do it all again. Or if they don't answer it, now you're bringing out a new stack and you have plays to go into your Ouryumon, which we'll get to. Okay, Ouryumon, similar effect as far as like the second half of the effect. That's the digivolving for free. But on play when digivolving, de-digivolve 2, one of your opponent's Digimon blah, 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 blah. All turns when a security stack is removed. Sorry, I forgot to mention the Alphamon has an all turns as well. You get to delete Digimon on your opponent's side with the lowest DP, which is really good. This one just minuses 8k, which is also good. So these cards are pretty powerful. I'll talk about my overall impression a little bit later. Or you can ace. On play when Digivolving, one of your opponent's Digimon gets minus 15k. I really, really wish it was minus 16. And here's why. Because this is 16. So it feels random, right? Like Takemika does minus 16, right? And it is 16. This is 16 and does minus 15. It feels is awkward because like your brain wants to say 16 because your guy is 16, but you're doing minus. I just wish it was minus 16. It makes it feel a little awkward. Because if you're going into this on a turn that you didn't go into this or remove from security to minus 8k something, you're not even clearing another ouryumon. You're not clearing the new Omni X, you know. That part annoys me quite a bit. But if you're DNA Digivolving, you get to trash your opponent's security and you get to recover one, which is really good because then you proc its all turns, which is when a security stack is removed from on either side, you gain 3. Pretty strong effect. Ex-Ante, I don't have to explain this. Most of you have played Ex-Ante decks before. You know what the card does. Again, it's just doing what this is going to do, and we're about to get to that. UG, I also don't have to explain. Basically, it's your Bond, Matt, and Tai Tamers. When you promote an Ex-Ante, you gain a memory draw card. Very, very strong card. And also when attacking, you can tuck an Ex-Ante card underneath. Let's talk about this. New Memory Tamer. When one of your Chronicle trait Digimon attacks, that's important because this one isn't Chronicle. It's only Ex-Ante body. And that's why they built the deck the way they built it. They built it very archetypal. Everything in the deck is Chronicle but this Dorumon. So we're not gonna miss on this because we're never gonna attack with this Dorumon. Anyways, when it attacks, you can suspend this. One of your Digimon may Digivolve. So not even the Digimon that's attacking, just one of your Digimon on the field may Digivolve into a level 6 or lower Chronicle trait Digimon card in the hand with the Digivolution cost reduced by 1. So this is helping to facilitate all of these when attacking effects, right? Just like the Ex-Ante option is also trying to do that. And then we have our option card searcher. Not the best card in my opinion, but again, they were just trying to showcase the deck. So I think they were like, hey, let's put 4 of almost everything except for the cards that aren't like really needed at 4. And also it's just it's a searcher. The security effect isn't bad. You reveal the top 3, add 1 Chronicle trait among them, return the rest of the bottom, then place this card in a battle area. Delay when any of your Chronicle trait Digimon are deleted by moving your level 3 or higher Chronicle trait from the breeding area, blah, blah, blah. It may Digivolve into Chronicle, right? Essentially, it's saying, hey, if they out your stack, you can move a new stack forward. And then it's kind of like keeping you ahead. It's one of the reasons Ukomon is so good, right? Ukomon is saying like, hey, I'm putting a body up, but I'm always having a body back. It's solid for that reason. Okay. Oh, I have a question in the chat. Would ryudamon work here since it can search both tamers as well? Ryudamon could work. That's a great question, actually. That's a really great question. Yeah. So let's pretend like we didn't use this Dorumon at all. And let's say we used ryudamon instead. Ryudamon would just actually search everything in the deck versus the Dorumon. I think their reasoning behind using the Dorumon instead, actually, I don't know their reasoning because they didn't play Ex-Ante option. They played the training instead of the Ex-Ante option. So I don't know their reasoning behind using Doru instead because they're not tucking for any effect in this deck. So ryudamon would be, in my opinion at least, superior for how they built the deck. I think I prefer Dorumon because I'm using Ex-Ante. Or I guess they had UG. Their build did have UG. So yeah, they were gaining memory off the UG tuck. I forget. I didn't add the UG. They had it in already. So that's probably why they wanted to gain advantage off of drawing a card off of the Dorumon and gaining a memory off of the Dorumon. We're going to get to like edits you can make in a deck a little bit later in the video. Let's first talk about my overall impression of the deck. It's so cool. And for the longest time I've told people, because people would ask me all the time, like, oh, you're the Alpha Tamer. Alphamon's your favorite Digimon. Why aren't you playing the deck? I love Alphamon as a Digimon. I've loved it since the first time I saw it in the opening of Digimon World 4. When the deck became tier 1, I wasn't a big fan because it was a little too streamlined and boring for me. A little background, one of the first decks I fell in love with was BT7 Lilith Loop, which had so many different plays, and it really challenged my mind. And I really like decks that aren't like super like, you're only going to do the stack, you're going to swing 2 checks, unsuspend, you're going to swing 2 checks, unsuspend one more time, swing for game, whatever, like kind of decks, you know. It was too easy. And so for the longest time, I was saying, man, I really want a different way to play Alphamon. I really want a different way to play Alphamon. So I got my wish. The problem is this deck is, in my opinion, extremely inconsistent because it's so archetypal. We only have so many option cards that have Chronicle. We only have so many Tamers that have Chronicle. We only have so many level 4s that have Chronicle. And when you're trying to stick to the archetype, like this is the whole deck. It's just 4 of everything, right? So that's where the issues come up for me with this deck. With that being said, I have been having a lot of fun with it. When it's not bricking, it's so much fun. Oh, wait. Did I tell you guys about this inheritable on Alphamon? Let's backtrack a little bit. This inheritable on Alphamon is just an Omni protection once per turn for your Ouryumon, which is so good, by the way. And then this inheritable here lets you trash a card when attacking once per turn. Again, I think the deck is a lot of fun. It's just crazy inconsistent. With that being said, I want to talk about considerations for the deck. If you guys at home you are dead set, like Alphamon's your favorite Digimon, you're like, I'm going to play this Chronicle deck. I'm going to try and make it work. I want to win at locals. I want to possibly go top like a regionals and get my nationals invite, anything like that. These are, speaking from experience, these are some considerations I think you could make that would assist in your goal. And this is coming from someone who's topped quite a few events. So I'm not trying to I'm not trying to boost myself, but y'all know what I'm saying. Hold on, let's take a break to read the chat, catch up with everyone. Actually, it's funny you say a way to bring out Chronicle stuff, because one of my considerations is Genai. So when they first introduced this card is when we were kind of still getting like the first wave of aces, right? So this card was a very much a, very much a easy way to make your opponent play into your aces. This, in my opinion, is a great consideration for the deck. If you guys don't know what it does, the part that we're mostly concerned with is the opponent's turn. When opponent's level 5 or higher Digimon attacks, by suspending this Tamer, move one of your Digimon from their breeding area to the battle area. So the way you start to think about this is, okay, I'm just going to put a level 6 stack in the back. My opponent's going to swing with a boss monster. I'm going to use this ability to move up my level 6 stack, whether it be Alphamon or Ouryumon. And then I'm going to blast Evo into this Ouryumon ace. I'm going to trash a security. I'm going to recover. I'm going to gain 3 memory because it's all turns, and I'm going to steal the turn. And now it's my turn. I'm going to hatch Evo Dorumon in the back. And you see like you're just ahead. So Genai, I think, is a great option for trying to, I don't want to say speed up the deck, because digivolving an entire mega stack in the back is already slow in itself. But it's a great way, in my opinion, to facilitate what you're trying to do as far as your combos with your Jogress ace card. So this is a card you guys can consider. Also, you reveal the top 5, add 1 level 3 and 1 non-white Tamer among them to the hand, return the rest to the bottom. That's a great searching effect. It adds all of these 3s, and all of your Tamers are non-white but itself, so it's not going to add itself, but it's going to add these guys and this. So it's pretty good. It's a great consideration. If you're considering this deck, consider this card. Next, Cool Boy. Cool Boy is, I think, the weakest of the considerations, which is so weird to even say when you're thinking about an X Antibody deck. But the problem is the thing that made Cool Boy the most powerful, in my opinion, wasn't the search. The search is great. The search is incredible, but it's being able to get recurring value off of suspending it when you're, evoing the same levels, the X Antibody versions of the same levels. So this card probably isn't as great. It's still a cheap searcher, and it's still adding your X Anti option plus any Digimon in your deck. So it's still a great searcher. It's something you could consider. I don't think it's going to be quite as good. Let's talk about Protoform. Protoform is really good in any X Antibody deck, but let's talk about why it's good specifically in this deck. Let's say we spoke about how the combo with Ryudamon feels really, really strong because you can evo into this guy for 1 and cast this Tamer. What if you can evo into any of your 4s for 1 without using Ryudamon and cast this Tamer? What if we went Dorumon promote, play the protoform, evo into this for the reduced cost of 1, or reduced cost of, it would be 1. And now protoform is going to tuck itself after it. So now Dorumon's going to see the protoform be tucked, and you're going to gain a memory, essentially making this a free evolution and casting the Tamer. I think that's a pretty strong effect. The problem is it requires a lot of pieces, right? Now you're having to see this Dorumon, you're having to see this level 4, and you're having to see this Tamer. That's just for that play. But I think just this Dorumon plus any 4 and protoform is still really good. Yeah, and Eddie just mentioned in chat, and you draw a card off the Dorumon. It's a strong combo. So protoform, it's hard for me to imagine protoform ever being just okay in any X anybody deck. There's a couple you can argue, like Dex Dorumon, black base and purple base. You can argue probably wouldn't benefit too much from this card. But even still, the pseudo recovery you get and the resource recursion you get from it is just, it's so unmatched. It's so powerful. I'm kind of moving backwards, as you guys can see. So let's talk about Garnet Memory Boost. There's a reason I brought up this card. We're gonna jump ahead and talk about this card and this card as well. This is an X antibody. This is an X antibody. They're red. This is red. This is red. If you wanted to do some kind of really fun, janky, local stomping deck, you could do Chronicle bottom end, use this Gallantmon, get some immunity. If your opponent attacks, it's whatever. Your guy is like crazy huge. Next turn, promote a stack. What is this? This fulfills yellow and red. Okay. Let's look at Ouryuken. So you can't blast. Blast requires the names. It requires Alphamon and Ouryumon specifically. But for regular DNA, it's just your first color has to be black and your second color can be yellow or red. He fulfills both second colors. So all you need is Ouryumon plus this Gallant X, and you can go into Ouryuken if you wanted to. It's niche, it's cute, but it would be a fun idea if we're talking about locals, right? If we're talking about locals, it's a fun idea. If we're talking about competitive, backtracking a little bit, we talk about these 2 cards. I think this is just a fun idea. It's just a memory boost that lets you grab these 2 and your other red cards that you already have in the deck. So your other red Digimon, including Ouryuken Ace, by the way, he's red now, which is kind of cool. So yeah, Garnet is a good option. Defense training, it's just in any stack building deck, trainings are always going to be decent to good or good to great, right? So I don't have to talk too much about this card. Again, I think I'm more of a memory boost fan in this specific deck than a training fan, only because you want to be attacking and digivolving more than you want to just be reducing digivolving. I know I spoke about the protoform play into the Dorumon. That's just for the sake of that's just one play, right? For the most part, we want to be swinging in attack, or we want to be, when attacking, digivolving. So I think this card is just okay. I think you can pop a memory boost and get the same value that you would get on this. So let's talk about why I included Sepia as well as black memory boost. Some people are of the train of thought that the less cards you reveal, the more consistent you'll be. The more cards you reveal, the less consistent you'll be. And let me explain why. When you're revealing more cards, you are subjecting yourself to bottom decking cards that you want in hand, like these, that the card cannot add to your hand. So some people think, okay, let me play this, reveal one less card. That's less opportunity for me to bottom deck this really good card that I want in my hand. I don't think either is objectively correct. I do prefer revealing less cards on searchers than more. I love Cool Boy because he reveals 3. If he revealed 4, I'd still love him because he's a 2-cost searcher in a standard X antibody deck. Cool. If these 2 cards had that same Dorumon Bandai Card Fest alt art, I would play the Sepia over the black. But because the black memory boost has the Dorumon Bandai Card Fest alt art, I will be playing the black memory boost if I decide to play it in the deck. That's just that's just what I'm gonna do. Y'all know me. I'm bougie when it comes to Digimon, so I'm always gonna go with what's most shiny and better looking. That's why I put both of these here. This one just reveals less cards, and this one reveals more. So it's just It depends on what you want to do, how you prefer to play the game, whatever makes you more comfortable. Scramble is just a great card. You're evoing for reduced costs. This also gives you resources back from trash. You know, if there's things that your opponent checked in security that maybe you want it back from trash. One other great part about it is you have 8 great searchers that this can play if they hit it in security. Something to think about. Let's talk OG Ouryuken and ouryumon. OG Ouryuken is a deck refiller. It's a resource recycler. Hold on, I'm spitting. Hold on. Let me get on the mic. It's a deck refiller. It's a resource recycler. It's a good extender. With that being said, when I initially read this card, I thought this card was strictly better, and I think I was wrong. I think this card is incredible, but I think this card is still really good. And I think if you're building a different version of the deck that maybe isn't as Chronicle leaning and you wanted to splash Chronicle stuff, that this card has a place. And I think this card will be good until they print something that's just objectively better. That's like banish all of your opponent's highest play cost or something like that. Good card, solid card. ouryumon is a great consideration because let's say there's a scenario where you use this Hisaryu so you don't have protection on a stack. You can digivolve into this ouryumon instead. You get to pop something on their side. You get to gain even more DP. So you already have 5k, not counting the whatever inheritables you're going to have. You have 5k off of this or a 5k from the Hisaryu plus another 2k on top of that. So that's what? That's 7k on top of this 12. That's 19k, right? And it's just immune to deletion effects. The only way your opponent's getting over this is swinging into it or like bottom decking it. So if they bottom deck it, they bottom deck it, whatever. But if they're swinging to it, you're just going into Ouryuken ace. This is a great consideration. It's also a good tuck target for the UG. So it's going to let this Ouryuken unsuspend. Let's say you Jogress the new 2 guys. Right? You get to swing, trash one, and then unsuspend. You're not going to trash another one, but I mean, that's still crazy. Like you just gain 3 memory off of this effect from trashing the security. You just checked one and then you're just going to swing again. I think it's a really solid consideration. If we're talking competitive for this deck, I think you find a way to maybe make this card work. This one isn't mandatory. I think you find a way to make this card work. I think you find a way to make this card work. And I think you find a way to make one of these extenders work. Okay, let's talk about what the Alpha Tamer is doing with this deck. It's a secret. You guys know I've always been really secretive with my decks all the way up into the day I hit an event. I will say I'm working with some of my testing homies, some of the NFD homies, different people on a build. I think only 3 people actually know like card for card how I'm considering utilizing this deck, and I think that it's really strong. I think it still needs a little bit of fine tuning, but I do think it's really strong. And I do think that a version of new Alphamon can perform really well. Do I think this version does? That's yet to be seen. Again, I think it's a little too inconsistent. But when it goes off, it's really powerful. But I think someone smarter than me will probably figure out something even I'm not even considering and take the deck to new heights. I'm really excited to have another Alphamon. Anytime they release Alphamon, I'll be like, yes, let's go. Let's do it. Let's try and make it work. I'm really excited to test the deck some more. I'm really excited to deck build, see what other people's ideas are, see it in tournaments again. I really am just like a big Alphamon fan. I just hope it can do well. I just hope it doesn't do too well so it doesn't get restricted cards again. Hashtag Dorugraded2. With that being said, YouTube, anticss here with the swole on the fro on, and I already gave you the explainer. I don't even know if I did the intro, but I'm the Alpha Tamer. Peace.